The last sunrise the dinosaurs ever saw, a world so ancient, so wild, so powerful, that our entire existence today hangs on what happened next, a world ruled not by humans, not by machines, but by monsters built straight out of nature's imagination, a world that had no idea it was about to face the worst day in the history of life on Earth. 66 million years ago, the sky broke, and everything the dinosaurs ever knew came crashing down with it. This is the story of the day fire ruled a perfect world. Too perfect to last. Before everything went sideways, Earth was basically living its best life. No humans, no skyscrapers, no noise except the wind and the roar of giants. The Cretaceous period was vibrant, hot, and straight up alive. Imagine a world where everything feels oversized, the trees, the animals. Even the atmosphere carried more oxygen, fueling huge bodies and even bigger appetites. Across the open plains, Triceratops herds moved like armored tanks grazing across seas of green. These creatures weren't just big, they were majestic, rolling in groups under a sun that felt eternal. In the skies overhead, pterosaurs rode warm currents like living kites. Some were so big their shadows could swallow entire clearings, and deep in the forests, you had creatures like microraptors, tiny, feathered, experimental designs of evolution, basically nature figuring out flight one feather at a time. But the king, the one beast that ruled this land like no other, was the Tyrannosaurus rex. Tons of teeth, muscle, power, pure apex predator energy. The Earth wasn't a quiet place. It was busy, loud, full of life cycles playing out every second. Everything fit together. Everything worked. It felt like a world that could go on forever, but fate was already in motion, and the dinosaurs were living their last chapter, without even knowing the book was ending. While Earth was doing its thing, living wild and free, something far away was moving, something ancient, something cold, something that didn't care who ruled the land below, a piece of rock, just a chunk left over from the earliest days of the solar system, had been drifting for millions of years, born from cosmic collisions, shaped by gravity, tossed between planets like a silent wanderer, until one day, its path shifted, tiny at first. Just a fraction of a degree, but in space, a fraction is everything. That tiny change sent the rock on a new course, straight toward a small blue planet that had no idea what was coming, Earth. For millions of years, that asteroid drifted closer and closer. Like a slow-motion bullet that couldn't miss, back on Earth, the dinosaurs woke to what felt like just another day. Volcanoes rumbled in the distance, nothing unusual. Massive rivers snaked across continents, forests buzzed with life, insects pollinating ancient flowers, while unfamiliar birds chirped their weird early songs. Herds of ankylosaurs lumbered across plains with their tough, spiky armor glowing in the sun. Hadrosaurs waded through rivers, calling to each other with low, booming sounds that echoed through valleys. Everything was normal, beautiful, alive. Nature had no clue it was being counted down, but something was off, something subtle. The sky looked a little strange. Colors slightly different, seismic patterns shifted, migrating animals hesitated, and deep inside the atmosphere, pressure gradients began whispering warnings. But the dinosaurs weren't listening, they couldn't. The asteroid, moving at over 40,000 miles per hour, finally reached Earth's atmosphere, and when it did, it lit up. Imagine a rock the size of a mountain suddenly hitting air so fast it turns white-hot instantly. It started glowing brighter than anything anyone on Earth had ever seen, a fireball, a streak of doom, an incoming star. From the ground, creatures looked up, some froze, some ran, some simply stared, confused, because how do you run from the sky? The air ahead of the asteroid compressed and heated until the atmosphere itself caught fire, a superheated tunnel of plasma screaming across the heavens. This wasn't a meteor, this was the planet killer. At Chicxulub, near today's Yucatan Peninsula, the asteroid slammed into Earth. Not gently, not quietly, but with the force of 100 million megatons of TNT. Let that sink in. We're talking energy beyond every nuclear weapon humans have ever built, combined, multiplied by 100. The impact didn't just break Earth's crust, it punched a hole into it. The ocean exploded upward, rock vaporized in an instant, the entire atmosphere detonated with light brighter than 1,000 suns. Nearby forests didn't burn, they disappeared. The shockwave tore across continents like a supersonic fist, flattening everything for hundreds of miles. Everything near the impact, every plant, every creature, every drop of life, was erased faster than a heartbeat. Earth didn't just shake, it screamed. Within minutes, waves taller than skyscrapers thundered across the oceans. These weren't normal tsunamis. They were basin-wide walls of water traveling hundreds of miles per hour. Whole coastlines vanished, marine reptiles, ancient sharks, everything, swept away. The earth was drowning and burning at the same time, and this was only the beginning. A world on fire, the asteroid hit Earth with unimaginable fury, but the real nightmare was what came after the impact. Because the strike itself was only the first punch, Earth took that hit, and then everything else followed like a chain reaction from hell. In the first seconds after impact, shockwaves raced across the globe faster than sound could catch up. The Earth literally rang. Imagine the entire planet vibrating like a cracked bell. Forests thousands of miles away shook so violently that trees snapped in half. Rivers sloshed out of their banks, animals panicked, senses overloaded, instincts screaming with no idea why. Earthquakes erupted everywhere, not because of faults shifting, but because the entire crust had been kicked like a drum. This wasn't one quake, this was dozens, hundreds, rippling across continents. If a dinosaur was standing anywhere on Earth at that moment, it felt the ground buck beneath it like the world was collapsing into itself, because honestly, it kind of was. When the asteroid hit, it didn't just blast rock into the air, it vaporized it. We're talking trillions of tons of Earth's crust instantly transformed into superheated gas, a toxic, glowing cloud that shot into space and wrapped around the planet like a death shroud. Huge chunks of molten earth were launched into orbit, not just pebbles, boulders the size of cars. Houses, even buildings. These pieces didn't stay up there long, gravity pulled them back, and when they fell, Earth was about to experience a global firestorm unlike anything the universe had seen in billions of years. Minutes after the impact, the first pieces of molten debris began to drop from the sky. At first, it was just a few glowing streaks, then dozens, then hundreds, then the whole sky lit up like it was raining shooting stars. But these weren't stars, these were fireballs, glowing red-hot shards of earth, each one burning at thousands of degrees, slicing through the sky like tiny suns. The air itself heated up, windstorms of fire swept across plains and forests. Leaves ignited, dry plants burst into flames without even touching a spark. Animals looked up, terrified, as the sky itself turned into a burning storm. Across entire continents, the world became a wildfire. This is the moment that gave the event its most accurate description. Earth didn't have wildfires. Earth was the wildfire. Every patch of forest across North America, Asia, Africa, and beyond went up in flames, not gradually, instantly. Imagine a planet where every tree, every blade of grass, everything that could burn, did. Even the soil caught fire in some places. The heat was so intense that dinosaurs collapsed before the flames reached them, their lungs burned from the superheated air. Their skin blistered, their world turned into a furnace, birds fell from the sky, pterosaurs dropped like burning sheets of paper, insects died by the trillions, and the fire didn't stop, because the debris kept falling. For hours, the entire atmosphere glowed orange and red, lit by a rain of fire that stretched over half the planet. This wasn't just destruction, it was purification by flame. After the fires burned everything, the smoke began to rise, billions of tons of soot, ash, dust, and burned carbon drifted into the upper atmosphere, and slowly, the sky dimmed, shadows deepened, the sun became blurry, then pale, then gone. Imagine being a dinosaur looking up one day and seeing the sun smothered like a candle under a wet cloth. Not for minutes, not for hours, but for years. This was the beginning of what scientists call, globe showing Europe-Africa the impact winter, a time when Earth entered a darkness so deep and so cold that life as the dinosaurs knew it simply couldn't survive. But we're not there yet. This is still the immediate aftermath, and things weren't just dark, they were deadly. The fires created a massive vacuum of heat, then, as soot blocked the sun, temperatures crashed, fast. We're talking a drop of tens of degrees in just a day or two. Herbivores that were already starving from burned forests suddenly found themselves in a world turning to ice. Rivers cooled, lakes chilled. The ground hardened. Hunger, shock, and cold worked together like a perfect storm. The giants didn't stand a chance. Triceratops herds wandered through blackened landscapes, searching for anything edible. Finding nothing, Edmontosaurus collapsed from exhaustion. Even the fierce predators, usually unstoppable, struggled. A T-Rex could kill almost anything, but it couldn't kill the night, it couldn't kill the cold. And it sure couldn't kill the hunger. While the giants suffered, smaller creatures hid. Not because they understood what was happening, but because small things, by nature, know how to survive. Tiny mammals burrowed deep underground, amphibians sheltered in mud, reptiles crawled beneath rocks and stayed still. They didn't need much food, they could wait, they could adapt, and while the rest of the world panicked, these tiny, forgotten creatures did what they'd been doing for millions of years. They endured, they didn't know it, but they were about to inherit the earth. The global firestorm created its own weather. Massive thunderheads built from smoke, ash, and steam. Lightning flashed non-stop across continents. Acid rain fell for the first time in planetary history. Imagine the chemical cocktail in the atmosphere. Fire vaporized rock, fire sulfur from the asteroid, fire nitrogen burned into toxic compounds, fire carbon from forests turned to soot, all of it mixed together in a sky that looked bruised. Torn, angry, dinosaurs walked through this chaos blinded, choking, stumbling across a world that no longer looked familiar. The last normal day was already long gone, and the true extinction event that was only beginning. The moment everything ended, let's be honest, no matter how much you think you understand the word catastrophe, nothing comes close to what happened next, because right now, in our story, the asteroid has reached the final 4 seconds of its journey, 4 seconds. Before life on Earth changes forever, the asteroid is now so close that its shadow sweeps across the surface like a bruise spreading over the planet. Daylight dims. Temperatures rise. The air vibrates with an energy the dinosaurs have never experienced. Above the Yucatan coastline, the sky looks wrong, not cloudy, not stormy, but warped, as if the atmosphere itself is being crushed. The jungle goes silent. Even insects freeze. Nearby, a massive Alamosaurus, a creature the size of an apartment building, stops chewing and lifts its head. For the first time in its life, it feels fear, its instincts scream, run, but there's nowhere to go. The asteroid tears through the upper atmosphere at 20 times the speed of a rifle bullet. Pressure ahead of it becomes so intense that air itself turns into plasma. A shockwave races in front of the rock, an invisible bulldozer flattening the sky. On the ground, forests bow violently as if hit by a supernatural wind. Birds are ripped from trees. Even the soil trembles. For a split second, the world glows blue-white, brighter than any lightning storm. This isn't sunlight, this is the atmosphere breaking. Dozens of species look up. A lone Quetzalcoatlus, the largest flying creature to ever exist, tries to take off. Wings stretch. Muscles strain, but the wind shear from the incoming blast is too much. It collapses, screaming, a sound torn away by the roaring sky. Even apex predators feel it. A Tyrannosaurus rex, miles inland, suddenly stops mid-step, its pupils tighten, its chest heaves. Something ancient, deeper than instinct, tells it that death is coming. But even a T-Rex cannot imagine how fast. And then, it hits. But not the ground. Not yet. Before the asteroid even touches the surface, it's kinetic. Energy melts the atmosphere into a blinding superheated flash. Every creature with eyes sees the same thing, a second sun. A sphere of white fire blooms across the horizon, so bright that even animals with no concept of light or heat react in pure, primal terror. In this moment, the dinosaurs do not die from impact, they die from light, hotter than the surface of the sun, vaporizing their retinas instantly. The world goes blind, and then, the rock touches Earth. At the exact moment of impact, the asteroid slams into shallow ocean off the coast of modern-day Mexico with the force of white medium star 10 billion Hiroshima bombs, white medium star a magnitude 12 earthquake, white medium star a fireball 100 miles wide. Instantly, a hole is punched into the crust of the Earth. A crater 100 miles wide and 20 miles deep. Rock doesn't just break. It vaporizes into superheated gas. The ocean itself is blown away, not splashed, not displaced, but annihilated. Every molecule of water near the impact point is ripped apart. A pillar of molten rock, superheated to unbelievable temperatures, erupts upward, punching through the atmosphere and into space. Chunks of Earth are launched into orbit. A shockwave blasts outwards faster than sound can even form. Forests instantly ignite in every direction. Dinosaurs up to 1,000 miles away are burned alive in the first second. Let that sink in. Creatures in what is now Texas, Florida, even Cuba, died instantly. Before they even heard the sound, the air becomes a weapon, turning into a wall of fire hotter than anything Earth has ever created naturally. Around the crater, nothing remains. Not bodies, not trees, not soil, only glass, fused from vaporized sand, only molten rock, flowing like an evil ocean. A global pressure wave races outward, flattening everything in its path. It rips dinosaurs apart, tears entire forests from the ground, and sends debris into space. Inland, the T-Rex we saw earlier feels a sudden, impossible pressure. Its eardrums burst, its lungs collapse. Death is instantaneous. A creature that ruled Earth for 2 million years is erased in a single breath. Within minutes, the initial blast displaces so much ocean water that megatsunamis race outward in all directions. Not waves, not floods, walls of water hundreds of feet tall, moving at jet engine speeds. They slam into coastlines from North America to South America. Even Africa feels the aftershocks. Entire ecosystems are washed away, mangrove swamps are pulverized, islands disappear, nothing survives in the path. But now comes the part that truly turns disaster into extinction. The sky begins to rain fire. debris from the impact, millions of tons of molten rock, launches into space, arcs across the planet, cools, and returns as a deadly storm of glowing hot projectiles. Imagine a global meteor shower, not small, not harmless, but raining down like machine gun fire. Every continent is hit, every forest ignites, every nest burns. Within an hour, Earth is on fire, the entire planet becomes a single, interconnected wildfire, something that has never happened before in Earth's history, and will never happen again, as the shockwave spreads. Winds of 600 miles per hour tear through landscapes, stripping leaves from trees, sandblasting rock, and hurling dinosaurs through the air like rag dolls. Even the mighty Alamosaurus, the giant we saw earlier, stands no chance. The pressure wave hits like a physical wall, bones snap, organs rupture. The creature collapses, its final roar swallowed by chaos. This is not just extinction, this is erasure. Everything the dinosaurs built through 150 million years of evolution, their kingdoms, their struggles, their triumphs, is wiped clean. As wildfires rage across every continent, smoke fills the atmosphere, then soot, then sulfur, the sky darkens. From blue to gray to black, stars vanish, the moon disappears. Even midday becomes night, plants stop. Photosynthesis, temperatures drop, the planet begins to suffocate, and this is only the beginning, because the real killer is still coming, and next, we enter the impact winter. The dawn of a new world. After years of darkness, fire, and chaos, the Earth slowly began to breathe again. The asteroid impact had changed everything. Entire species gone. Ecosystems erased. Yet beneath the ashes, life was quietly plotting its comeback. This is the story of survival, rebirth, and the rise of a world without dinosaurs. It began subtly, pale, weak rays filtered through the thick cloud of dust and ash. At first, it barely felt like daylight. The world was gray, cold, and silent. Rivers were choked with ash, forests reduced to charred skeletons, mountains and plains alike bore the scars of global catastrophe. But life senses opportunity. And life responded. Seeds that had survived underground, shielded from the heat and cold, began to sprout. Ferns, grasses, and small shrubs pushed through the blackened soil, breaking the monotony of gray with tiny sparks of green. Life on the surface began small, moss clung to rocks, ferns rose among burnt trunks, hardy pioneer plants adapted to low sunlight and nutrient-poor soil. It was fragile, tentative, yet unstoppable. Each sprout was a victory over annihilation, and with plants returning, herbivores found their first post-extinction meals, not giants, but the survivors, small mammals, birds, and reptiles. With dinosaurs gone, a huge evolutionary opportunity opened. Tiny mammals, no bigger than rats or possums, began to exploit niches once dominated by reptiles. They burrowed deeper, avoiding predators and the harsh environment. They ate roots, insects, and seeds, growing in numbers and diversity. No apex predators remained to stop them. Life was quietly recalibrating. The age of dinosaurs had ended. The age of mammals was quietly beginning. In the seas, life followed the same script. Plankton, algae, and small fish survived in refuges untouched by initial chaos. Over time, they repopulate the oceans, restoring food chains. Marine reptiles never recovered. Giant mosasaurs and plesiosaurs were gone forever, but small sharks, fish, and early marine mammals began to thrive, taking over niches left empty by extinction. The oceans became a place for small, adaptable survivors, laying the groundwork for future marine life. Even the sky was not empty for long. Primitive birds, descendants of small, feathered dinosaurs, survived in hiding. They began to colonize niches left vacant by the pterosaurs' extinction. Small reptiles, lizards, and amphibians also spread across continents, filling every surviving ecosystem. The giants were gone. But life had a stubborn resilience, and slowly, the planet was healing. Over decades and centuries, the atmosphere began to clear, dust settled, sunlight returned in full force, rain washed ash from the land, temperatures rose. Glaciers and frozen rivers melted, weather patterns normalized. Earth's cycles, once violently disrupted, resumed, seasons returned. Wind, rain, and sun began shaping the land again, mountains grew, rivers carved new valleys, and deserts were redefined. A new earth was forming from the ashes of the old. With sunlight and moisture, plants advanced rapidly, trees spread roots into ash-choked soil, flowers emerged, attracting insects and pollinators. Ferns, cycads, and conifers recolonized areas once ruled by giants. Forests became dense, green, and alive once more. Insects, birds, and small mammals thrived in these newly formed ecosystems. The planet was no longer dominated by one king or one group of giants. It had diversified, creating balance anew. The giants had fallen, but the survivors, small mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, capitalized. Mammals evolved sharper senses, faster reflexes, and intelligence that gave them an edge. Birds expanded into multiple niches, some hunting insects, others foraging seeds. Reptiles colonized deserts, mountains, and riverbanks. Over millions of years, these small survivors would shape the face of the planet, paving the way for a new era. This was more than recovery, this was evolution on steroids. Life became smarter, faster, more adaptive. Gone were the massive, slow-moving dinosaurs. In came creatures capable of problem-solving, flexibility, and rapid evolution. The Earth was no longer ruled by brute force alone. Survival depended on cleverness, speed, and adaptability. The stage was set for the Cenozoic era, the age of mammals, and eventually, the rise of humans. Slowly, over millions of years, forests flourished, grasslands expanded, rivers carved new landscapes, oceans teemed with life once again. The earth had been scarred, burned, and frozen, yet life found a way. The survivors of the extinction, small mammals, birds, insects, became the foundation of all future ecosystems. From these humble, hidden creatures, the world we know today would eventually rise. Though the giants vanished, they left something profound: fossils that teach us about evolution, DNA traces in their descendants, the birds we see today. Lessons about resilience, survival, and adaptation. The extinction didn't end life, it transformed life, making space for creatures that could thrive in a post-catastrophe world. And the most important takeaway: life always finds a way. It adapts. It evolves. It begins again, no matter the odds. The legacy and rise of a new world. After millions of years, Earth had healed. The gray ash and firestorms of the asteroid impact were long gone. The oceans, skies, and forests had returned to life, but in a form completely new. This was not the world of colossal dinosaurs. It was a world shaped by the survivors, the small and clever, the hidden and adaptable. The first sign that life was back. Color: green ferns waved where ash had once fallen. Flowers dotted the plains in splashes of reds, yellows, and purples. Trees stretched tall and proud, reclaiming the land. Animals emerged from hiding. Small mammals scuttled through forests, hunting insects and seeds. Birds, descendants of small theropod dinosaurs, took to the skies. filling the air with song. Reptiles and amphibians colonized rivers, swamps, and deserts. Where giants once stomped, a new age of life had begun. Mammals, once small and insignificant, were now free to thrive. Without dinosaurs dominating the land, they expanded into every niche. Some became tree dwellers, swinging from branches. Others burrowed deeper underground, safe from predators. A few began experimenting with social behavior, hunting in packs, storing food, and defending territory, over millions of years. These mammals would diversify into everything from tiny shrews to massive woolly beasts. The stage was set for intelligent life. Even the creatures that survived the asteroid themselves evolved in surprising ways. Birds, descendants of small, feathered theropods, became increasingly specialized. Some scavenged carrion left by dead animals, others hunted insects or seeds. A few developed bright plumage to attract mates, filling the skies with color and song. In a way, dinosaurs never truly left Earth. They transformed into the winged creatures that now dominate the skies. The oceans healed too, plankton bloomed again, restoring food chains from the bottom up. Fish multiplied, marine mammals, like the ancestors of dolphins and whales, began emerging millions of years later, while the ancient monsters, mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, were gone forever. The seas became home to a new generation of adaptable predators. The oceans, like the land, had reinvented themselves. Life on Earth had endured not because it was strong, but because it was resilient. Small mammals survived underground. Birds and reptiles endured in niches untouched by chaos. Plants germinated from buried seeds. And slowly, over thousands and millions of years, ecosystems regained balance. Predators evolved alongside prey. Forests spread. Rivers carved valleys. The planet had survived its apocalypse. The extinction of the dinosaurs is more than a tale of death. It's a lesson in resilience, adaptation, and transformation. Life is stubborn. Life is clever. Life refuses to quit, even in the face of total annihilation. It finds a way. It burrows, hides, evolves, adapts, and ultimately returns stronger. The dinosaurs may have been giants, but their time on Earth taught us something profound. Survival isn't about size or strength. It's about the ability to endure change. Though gone, dinosaurs left a permanent mark on our planet. Fossils that reveal the story of life millions of years ago. Birds, their living descendants, soaring in the skies. Evolutionary lessons showing how life responds to catastrophic events. Every time we dig into rocks, we are touching the memory of that day, the day the sky fell, the day fire ruled the earth, and the day life began again, millions of years later. Small mammals evolved into larger, intelligent creatures. Eventually, humans appeared. We look up at the sky, wonder about our place in the universe, and study the stars. We are alive because life survived its toughest test, because the dinosaurs' extinction cleared the way, giving small, clever survivors a chance to thrive. Every mountain we climb, every forest we explore, every fossil we uncover is a reminder. The Earth is stronger than its catastrophes, and life is smarter than its trials. The asteroid didn't just destroy life, it transformed it. The dinosaurs' final day was the beginning of our story. From the ashes of giants, a new world emerged, one full of mammals, birds, forests, oceans, and eventually, humans. Life is not static, it is a river. Sometimes it floods. Sometimes it dries, sometimes it burns, but always, it finds a way to flow again, and one day, perhaps, we too will face a sky that falls, a tide that rises, or a fire that rains from above, but life will endure, because life always does. 66 million years ago, fire ruled the sky, dinosaurs died, Earth was scarred, but life, small, hidden, and resilient, survived, and from that survival, the story of mammals, birds, and ultimately humans began. Every time we walk a forest, swim in the oceans, or look at a bird in flight, we are walking in the shadow of survival. The memory of the dinosaurs' last day is etched not only in rock and fossil, but in every living creature that followed. If you think extinction is the end, think again. It's never the end, it's transformation, it's evolution, it's life refusing to quit. The dinosaurs' final day reminds us that the world is fragile, but resilient, and if we choose to survive and adapt, so will we. Because the story of life is not written by the giants, it's written by those who endure.